Alright guys, so this is the review video for the PBL 1 post test. This is for 6th grade to go over all the content that they learned in the first PBL. So to start this video, I'm going to tell you what the code question is that you can answer to prove that you've watched the entire video. And the code question is, what is Moose's full name? This is a 6-word name that will be answered as we go through the video to help you prove that you watched it. Alright, the first thing that we need to learn about in this video is the requirements for a successful personal narrative. When writing a personal narrative, it's important that this is a story about you, told by you. Also, it focuses on a specific event that happened over a small amount of time. So instead of choosing to write about your whole summer, you might choose to write about the week that you went to Disney World. So then you're just writing about one part of your summer and not an entire long drawn out thing. Also, you want to talk about how the event affects or changes you as the author. So for instance, if you're writing about the time you went to Disney World, you might talk about how this helped you grow a greater appreciation for your parents because you learned all that they give up so that you can have fun experiences like this. Then you want to paint a picture for the reader, and you want to show, not tell them what's happening. So for instance, you might talk about, instead of just saying, I rode Splash Mountain, you might say, my heart fell to the pit of my stomach as we went down the last steep hill of Splash Mountain. I could feel the cool mist of the water touching my skin as we got closer and closer to the bottom. Suddenly, splash! I was engulfed in the magical wave of Disney World. So see, you're helping the reader experience what's going on. And then it's always written in first person point of view. And as you can see right here, the first clue word for Moose's name is Rocky. Alright, when you're writing, you want to make sure that you're appealing to the reader's senses because this makes it more interesting for them to read. So the 5 senses are touch, taste, sound, sight, and smell. And you want to appeal to those when you're writing. So instead of saying, the dog ran to me and licked me, we say, the giant bear-like dog raced towards me with thundering footsteps and licked me with his slobbery wet tongue. So this part that says the giant bear-like dog, instead of saying the dog raced me, this lets us know what kind of dog. If we didn't say this, we don't know if it's a Chihuahua or a huge dog, and this helps us know that it's a big dog. Then thundering footsteps helps the reader hear what's going on, and they can hear the dog getting closer and closer. Then licked me with his slobbery wet tongue, you can actually give that reader the feeling that they're being licked by the dog too. So this sentence appeals to our sense of sight, our sense of sound, and our sense of touch, 3 of the 5 senses. Alright, then we're going to talk about the types of point of view. As we talked about before, personal narratives are written in first person point of view. This is when the author is writing about their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. When you're writing in first person point of view, or when you're reading something that's written first person point of view, the key things to look for are the personal pronouns I, me, us, my, mine, and our. These are first person pronouns. And the next word in Moose's name is mountain. Alright, then we move on to third person point of view. When you are reading something written in third person point of view, the key words you're going to look for are words like he, she, it, they, them, and their. Those are the third person pronouns to look for. There's 3 different types of third person point of view. The first one is third person objective. This is as if the narrator is just a fly on the wall observing what's going on. So the narrator describes everything without describing the character's thoughts or feelings. So an example of that is John raised his glass, took a sip of milk. Thank you for the drink, he told his mother. His mother nodded and told him he was welcome. So we don't know what the characters are thinking or feeling, we just know what they're saying and doing. Then we have third person limited. This is as if the narrator is putting us in the mind of just one character in the story. So the narrator only knows what's going on with one character and what they're thinking. So Saul came home from the shop. He was wondering what Jacob thought about their science project. So we know what Saul's thinking, that he's wondering something, and he's wondering what Jacob thought, but we don't actually know what Jacob thought. Then we have third person omniscient, and right there we have omni, one of our prefixes, which means all or everything. The narrator knows everything. He or she even knows all the character's thoughts. So, oh no, Johnny thought to himself, I'm really in trouble now. Across the aisle, Jen was worried too. So we know what Johnny's thoughts are, and we know what Jen is feeling. So this is as if the narrator is putting us in the minds of all characters in the story, and it's like the narrator is a mind reader. Alright, so let's keep moving on. So then we're going to talk about the similarities and differences of memoirs, which are personal narratives, autobiographies, and biographies. Alright, so our memoirs are short stories written by an author about that author, and they describe specific events in their life. So then we have autobiographies, which are somewhat similar to memoirs in that they're also written by the author about the author, but these tell us about the entire life of the author, not just one specific event. And finally, we have biographies, which are similar to autobiographies in that they tell us about the entire life of someone, but these are a text written by the author which tells the story of another person's entire life. And there we have our third clue word, which is moose. Alright, then moving on, we're going to talk about capitalization rules. So, when we are writing, it's important that we know which words to capitalize. And the acronym MINTS can help us do that. So the first letter in MINTS is months. M, months. That helps us to know that we need to capitalize all the months of the year, such as January, February, so on, October, all those months. Then we have I, the word I. So when you say, I went to Disney World, you need to capitalize that letter I because you are important and you as I are a proper noun. Then we have N, you're capitalizing the names of people, places, and brands. So for instance, when you are writing and you say, I went to my friend Mikey's house, well, you will capitalize M in Mikey. Then we all go to the Innovation Academy, so we'll capitalize the I and the A in Innovation Academy because that's a proper noun and talking about a specific place. And finally, if you say, I drank a Dr. Pepper, you would capitalize the D and P in Dr. Pepper because that's a brand name. Then we talk about titles. When you're talking about the title of a book or of a movie, you always capitalize those words too. So if you're saying, I'm reading Dr. Seuss's book, Green Eggs and Ham, you capitalize G, you capitalize E, and you capitalize H. And then if you said, I watched Lion King, you capitalize L in lion and K in king. And then you always start your sentences with a capital letter. And here's our next clue, in the. So far we have Rocky Mountain, in the. Alright, then we have formatting dialogue. So it's important when writing personal narratives to know how to format dialogue. And we'll go over a couple examples. My mom hollered from the back porch, Mikey, it's time to come in for dinner. So anytime that you're saying what someone's actually said, you open what they say with a quotation mark and you close what they say with a quotation mark. So that's why we have a quotation mark in front of Mikey and a quotation mark at dinner because that's what the mom is saying. And to introduce a new part of what someone's saying, you always put a comma and that goes after the last word before we talk about our quotation. Then any ending punctuation goes inside of those quotation marks. When you go to the next line of it, when a new speaker speaks, you go to the next line. So we come to our new line and we have coming mom, comma, that also goes inside our quotation mark, I yelled back. Then we went to a new line because Mom's responding now, and she says, hurry, comma, which goes inside the quotation mark because that goes with what we just said. She shouted, comma, because we're introducing some more quotation, your dinner's getting cold, period, goes inside the quotation mark. And notice that at no point did I say the boring word said. Instead I said hollered, yelled, and shouted. This is to emphasize that they're speaking to each other from a long distance, so we wouldn't use words like whispered or stated because those don't emphasize that it's coming from a distance. And here we have the last word in Moose's name, which is view. So, as you can see, his full name is Rocky Mountain Moose in the View.